All November long, we'll be celebrating our nation's youth. Over 15,000 young people are expected to be directly engaged and entered into the Ministry of Youth's database to access support programs based on their unique needs and aspirations. For more information on Youth Month plans, call the National Youth Service at 754-9816 through to 8. Hello and welcome to another edition of Jamaica Magazine, the program that keeps you up to date on all the positive stories coming out of our beautiful island. I'm Adrian Atkinson. The show unfolds right now.
There is no vaccine for the chikungunya virus. If you've been infected, take paracetamol such as Panadol, Cetamol, and Tylenol to reduce pain and fever. Sleep under mosquito netting and get plenty of rest. Take showers or sponge baths in room temperature water to lower fever, especially in children, and drink lots of fluids to prevent dehydration. If your symptoms worsen, go and see a doctor. Do not take aspirin as this could cause bleeding, and never use rubbing alcohol. To learn more, call 1-888-1-LOVE. That's 1-888-663-5683.
Good day, I'm Tamara McHale and this is your GIS News for Monday, November 3. Government's plans to stamp out corruption within the security forces and other organizations have been strengthened following the official opening of a polygraph center. The major organized crime and anti-corruption agency MOCA's Polygraph and Vetting Center costs over $1 million and was constructed and equipped with support from the governments of the United States and Canada. Located on the grounds of the National Police College of Jamaica in Twickenham Park, St. Catherine, the Polygraph Center is the first of its kind in the Caribbean and is regarded as a center of excellence. National Security Minister Peter Bunting says it will enhance the work of MOCA.
MOCA is, in a sense, providing investigative teeth to a lot of other audit-type operations across ministries, but they may have the skills to identify something suspicious, and MOCA then comes in to give them the full ambit or the full range of intelligence, investigative and operational support.
In the meantime, Minister Bunting adds that the new center will allow examiners to facilitate polygraph tests and training for local and regional jurisdictions. MOCA currently has 7 accredited forensic polygraph examiners and 4 others are scheduled for training in January 2015. 10,000 grade 5 and 6 students are being given the chance to operate a business this school year. This is being done through an experimental learning program dubbed Jabistown, conceptualized by Junior Achievement Jamaica and the Rotary Club of Kingston. The innovative program involves the students learning business concepts and then being able to apply for mock jobs at the Jabistown facility where they will be able to run their companies for a specified period. Addressing the program's launch on Tuesday, Education Minister Reverend Ronald Thwaites lauded the initiative, emphasizing that education and training must be geared towards the demands of the global economy.
The world is changing, and it is now for the education system to listen to those who see the openings in economic development and to say, what are the skills that you need us to educate for so that all our students can be ready to fill the available jobs and, very, very importantly, to create the jobs that are possible in our society.
Land for construction of the Jabistown facility was provided by the Ministry of Education at 37 Arnold Road. More than $70 million in investment is being pumped into the project, which is being funded by the United States Agency for International Development with sponsorship support from various private sector companies. The Youth and Culture Ministry will be hosting entrepreneurship workshops for young people as part of activities to celebrate November as Youth Month. At the recent launch in the Halfway Tree Transport Center, Portfolio Minister Lisa Hanna encouraged young people to take advantage of the various opportunities available to them.
Advance yourself. As a ministry, we're here to help you. So call us. Check our website at www.youthjamaica.com. Come in and see us. I am your minister and I'm here to serve you.
Youth Month 2014 is being observed under the theme, Youth Advance, Not Leaving It to Chance. Acting Permanent Secretary in the Health Ministry, Dr. Kevin Harvey, says government is taking notes and learning from every Ebola incident, even those that turn out to be false alarms. Dr. Harvey was making reference to the incident at the Mandeville Hospital and the couple whose visit to the island ended early because of one of the two visited Liberia recently. He said these were used to amend weak areas and increase public sensitization.
These scares, we note that they will come and they do provide tests for our system. They help us to identify some of the gaps that we have.
Dr. Harvey was speaking recently on a special televised panel discussion on the government's readiness for a possible outbreak of the Ebola virus. The National Emergency Response Mechanism is being coordinated by the Office of the Prime Minister. For further information, call 1-888-663-5683. And finally, a call is being made for greater inclusion and acceptance of persons living with HIV and AIDS, especially children who have the disease. The call was made by Ainsley Reid, coordinator of the Greater Involvement of Persons Living with HIV and AIDS unit at the National Family Planning Board.
The message here for Jamaica as relates to children is that children live what they learn. So if we treat children bad, as they grow up and face the challenges of the world and the society, it doesn't improve their self-esteem and self-worth.
While speaking at a recent GIS think tank, he pointed out that more than 30,000 persons in Jamaica are living with the disease. And that's it for GIS News today. I'm Tamara McHale. Thank you for watching.
The Ebola virus is transmitted through direct contact with an infected person's blood or other bodily fluids like saliva, urine, stool, and semen. Symptoms of Ebola include sudden fever, intense weakness, muscle pain, headache, and sore throat. This may be followed by vomiting, diarrhea, and rash, and in some cases both internal and external bleeding, leading to death. Protect yourself. Avoid travel to Ebola-affected countries. Avoid contact with infected persons. Don't touch the body of someone who has died from Ebola. Wash hands frequently with soap and water and use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. To know more, call 1-888-663-5683.
National cleanup campaign on in earnest. Government backs netballers' drive to raise $63 million and take the next step to self-regulation. Information Minister urges local media to establish complaints council. The national emergency response to the chikungunya outbreak continues with cleanup activities in various sections of the island. The National Health Emergency Vector Control Cleanup Team went to Western Kingston last week to get rid of mosquito breeding sites. On Thursday, Cleanup Coordinator Colonel Daniel Price said about 19 loads of solid waste were removed from a major gully which runs from a section of Tivoli Gardens to Marcus Garvey Drive. Cleanup activities are expected to continue this week in parts of Denham Town, Hannahtown, and Tivoli Gardens. As the country observes National Science and Technology Month in November, Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller has announced the government's intent to place renewed emphasis in the sector for job creation and economic growth. As she chaired last Wednesday's meeting of the reconstituted National Commission on Science and Technology, Mrs. Simpson Miller said particular attention would be placed on the development of nutraceuticals from Jamaican plants. The Prime Minister urged the Commission to use its influence to innovate and ensure that all of Jamaica benefits from science and technology. And as the nation observed Fire Safety Awareness Week from October 26 to November 1, Prime Minister Simpson Miller hailed the country's firefighters as unsung heroes. At a church service to start the week of activities, the Prime Minister lauded the fire services for continuing to make significant contributions to the country, often under life-threatening circumstances. Mrs. Simpson Miller's message was delivered by Attorney General Patrick Atkinson.
May you enjoy great success and support as you continue your invaluable contribution to nation building, and may you continue to benefit from the blessings of God Almighty.
The minister responsible for sport last week showed government support for the island's senior netballers who are trying to raise money to fund their participation in the 2015 World Netball Championship in Sydney, Australia. The initiative, dubbed Gold Rush Down Under, is seeking to raise $63 million. Minister Nita Headley endorsed the effort and called on Jamaicans to support the cause.
I'm using this opportunity to appeal to everyone to contribute to the Gold Rush Down Under Fund and to ensure that we can send off our Sunshine Girls to dazzle the world in Sydney in 2015.
The Sunshine Girls, who are currently 4th in world netball rankings, are now on the internet with their own website, mynetballjamaica.com. Jamaica's netballers left the island Sunday ahead of the 2014 Fast 15 netball series to be held in Auckland, New Zealand on November 8 and 9. In the meantime, Minister Nita Headley gave an update of government's policies which are guiding sports development on the island. She said the country's anti-doping mechanism had been bolstered, the policy to protect children in sport had been implemented, and sport infrastructure upgrading as well as advancing the welfare of the nation's athletes were continuing. Mrs. Nita Headley also spoke to the recent launch of the Sport Tourism Committee and the training of sport leaders on the UK Sports and Build Jamaica as ways the government was safeguarding the island's future in sport.
We're not just kissing and smiling when there are successes. We are ensuring that we are institutionalizing that success and advancing our ability to continue to do well and to do even better.
The minister responsible for information, Senator Sandra Faulkner, has again called for a self-regulated media complaints council. The council, Minister Faulkner said, would allow persons who've been wronged by the media to have their grievances addressed.
The media already have a set of shared values and ethics underpinning the profession and how it operates. Those are important prerequisites to self-regulation, and I don't believe it will be difficult to take that next important step to establish that independent body which will oversee and administer your code of practice.
The minister made the call as she participated in last Wednesday's symposium aimed at developing a framework for media self-regulation. Held at the Caribbean Institute of Media and Communications, CARMAC, the regional initiative was facilitated by UNESCO, the Association of Caribbean Media Workers, and the International Press Institute. Senator Faulkner also used the occasion to reiterate government's commitment to press freedom, but was quick to add that the media must act responsibly and be accountable to the people they serve. And news came last week that the late former President of the Senate, Syringa Marshall Burnett, would be accorded an official funeral. The service is scheduled for 2 p.m. on Thursday, November 6 at the University Chapel of the West Indies, Mona. Condolence books have been opened at the UII School of Nursing and the National Council for Senior Citizens on West Kings House Road. Mrs. Marshall Burnett contributed to nation building in many areas, including health, education, and politics. The former senator died on Friday, October 10. And that's it for this week's edition of Jamaica House Weekly. We return next time with the latest developments from the office of the Prime Minister.
Welcome to the FSC Minute. I am Nadine Newsom. Today we explore anti-money laundering and its implications for the FSC regulated sectors. And joining me is Laurice Edwards-Brown, Director of Investigations and Enforcement at the FSC. Welcome to the FSC Minute, Laurice.
Thank you, Nadine.
What is money laundering?
The goal of most criminal activity is to generate a profit. So in order to enjoy these ill-gotten gains, criminals often seek to disguise the source of these funds. So the process by which the criminals seek to put these ill-gotten gains into legitimate source of business or into investments is what is called money laundering.
And what role does the FSC play as it relates to anti-money laundering laws?
The FSC is mandated by Section 62F of the Financial Services Commission Act to put into place measures to reduce the possibility of its regulated sectors, that is the pension sector, the insurance industry, or the securities industry, from being involved in any activity or in any offense relating to money laundering. The FSC seeks to implement such measures to reduce or to mitigate the risk concerning money laundering or financing of terrorism. And when these risks are identified, these measures will seek to alleviate the risks.
Does the FSC provide specific instructions to institutions regarding the procedures to put in place for anti-money laundering compliance?
No, the FSC does not. The FSC is a gatekeeper for the industry, and what we seek to do is to get the industry to work to find out what is it that they need to do to implement measures that can safeguard their own entities from being used into using schemes for money laundering activities.
Thank you, Larice. My guest today was Larice Edwards-Brown, Director of Investigations and Enforcement at the FSC. For the FSC Minute, I am Nadine Newsom.
In observation of National Science and Technology Month, we bring you a feature highlighting the use of technology in a special area. Take a look.
Rainfall, drought, temperature levels, and wind speed are all variables in the assessment of climate change. We've been hearing about climate change for quite some time, but what does it really mean? Well, those who should know say it refers to a distinct change in weather patterns over an extended period of time, usually lasting decades or longer. These days, when most people speak of climate change, they're talking about global warming. But climate change is a much broader term that takes into account more than surface temperature increases. Either way, it's a complex science that calls for sophisticated technologies to research, predict, and map a corrective plan where one is needed.
We do two things. So we look at present-day climate. And what we do is we take observations that have been collected by meteorological services across the region. So we look at rainfall, max temperature, minimum temperature. And we do our statistics on them to see how climate has changed already. What we also do is we look at future climate and we run climate change models. And these are just computer models.
To better understand the complex climate system, computer programs have been developed into models that highlight the interactions of climate components. These general circulation models have been used extensively to understand climate shifts, such as this hurricane-like vortices. This model is a projection of the frequency and intensity of a hurricane in the year 2097, between July and August. It will also estimate how hurricanes are projected to change. What this means is, if average weather patterns over an extended period are significantly altered, then it indicates a change in climate change. Other models look at lightning pattern and simulators to help farmers increase their yields while mitigating against excess rain and drought periods.
A number of technologies are used. If we're looking at present-day climate, for example, and the changes that have already occurred, we rely heavily on data from our meteorological centers. So we're looking at technologies behind data collection and storage and dissemination. We also make use of satellite data. It helps us with our observations. When we run these models, we compare them to what we have in our observations to see how well the models are capturing observations. So if it is doing a pretty good job, then we have some confidence that what the model is projecting in the future will be accurate. Another thing we do with our model output is we compare it with other models to see whether there's consistency in the results. Another thing we do is to see whether the output we're seeing corresponds to the kind of signs we're expecting from climate change.
A lot of our activities revolve around climate. We know, for example, that at certain times of the year we can expect more rainfall. So we might organize our crop production cycle to align with this flush period.
We are now looking on agriculture and looking on, well, what happens in a drier, warmer climate? How will it affect yields? And we're looking on the study of how that happens. We look on other diseases. We look on the disaster risk reduction in terms of hurricanes, the number of hurricanes, the intensity of hurricanes. What does that mean for shoreline protection?
So why are we going to all this trouble? Because climate change is as much a reality for us as any other country. A look at climatic conditions over the last part of the 20th century revealed some interesting things, like an increase in the frequency of hot days and nights, a decrease in the frequency of cold days and nights, a decrease in the difference between maximum and minimum temperatures, a decline in the maximum number of consecutive dry days, and a slight drying trend in summer rainfall.
Some studies have indicated that our hurricanes would have stronger winds and more rainfall associated with it. Other studies have shown that global sea level will continue to rise, and by extension we expect that for the Caribbean.
This kind of information is useful to the process of governance. The data, if accurate, will help government identify potential and current problems and plan appropriate responses. The climate is ever changing, and that's all good, except when that change brings with it serious danger to life and health. So hats off to those who are doing all they can to map this ever-evolving cycle and the technologies they use to unravel the mysteries of climate change.
As the Ministry of Youth and Culture promotes and executes deliberate actions geared towards youth development, we highlight one of its agencies carrying out that function.
Gifted and black. Oh, what a lovely, precious dream.
My administration is placing a serious focus and emphasis on youth development.
And that commitment has manifested itself in government's focus on job creation and economic growth through the emphasis placed on education and training to benefit the nation's youth. Leading government's charge in this regard is the National Youth Service, the premier youth development entity catering to Jamaicans between 17 and 24 years old.
Young, gifted and black.
The whole direction and the mandate of the National Youth Service is to engage youth and help in their development towards employment.
And the 2014-2015 financial year is no different, as the National Youth Service will be targeting some 10,000 youth through a number of programs which have been created or extended to meet the growing demands of Jamaica's young people.
You can get it if you really want.
This year, 200 young people will receive training under the NYS's entrepreneurship program.
We train persons in various disciplines essential for starting and running a business for a 2-week period, and this is followed by a 6-month period of hand-holding.
And they will provide with business coaches who will work with them over a period of up to a year and guide them from business idea, from business plan, onto financing and establishing of their own businesses.
We train them on budgeting and time management and dispute resolution, market research.
On the other hand, we have courses which we call Entrepreneurship 101, which we run in each parish for youth who declare an interest in entrepreneurship. We teach them the nuts and bolts of business. What does it mean to own your own business? What are the skill sets you need? What are the government agencies you need to engage with in terms of tax compliance, etc. And from their experience with that program, they will now determine whether they need to go to the next level and be engaged in our entrepreneurship full-blown program.
We're looking to expose 1,500 youth to entrepreneurship in the 2014-2015 fiscal year.
You can get it if you really want.
That program was born out of the recognition that many youth graduate from college and have no experience and therefore find it difficult to get full-time jobs because they have no experience to be able to take to their employers. But without the jobs, they can get no experience.
So the National Youth Service, in partnership with public and private entities, placed participants for a period of 6 months.
And what we've found is once our participants show that they can add value to a placement site, the placement site generally takes them on.
Last year, 320 graduates were involved in the program, with an expected increase to 500 in the 2014-2015 financial year.
I would like to thank NYS for this opportunity, because without this internship, I do not believe that I will be able to get a job as easily or to develop my capacity.
The exposure, it's a wealth of knowledge gained through participating in the NYS program, and it certainly has assisted in getting me to where I'm at now.
Through this program, the NYS partners with the Jamaica Values and Attitudes Project for tertiary students, JAMVAT, plus a tertiary institution to pay 70% of participants' tuition fees. With a focus on agriculture and the logistics hub this year, NYS is partnering with the College of Science, Agriculture and Education, CASE, and the Caribbean Maritime Institute.
Currently, we have 50 persons in the AHEP program, and we're going to add 100 this year.
"50 participants are currently engaged in a NYS JCDC events management program.
And their first priority is to assist with developing and executing all the programs associated with emancipation and independence activities for this year, as well later on in the year with the Heritage Week activities. So they're getting fundamental, very good experience in events planning and events management, which they can parlay into entrepreneurship and running their own events planning business.
In the financial year, the NYS will be engaging 40 participants in Information and Communications Technology (ICT) through a partnership with the Creative Production and Training Center, the CPTC.
Youth are very interested in those areas, and they can deliver value to the global market without moving from Jamaica.
The government is committed to providing jobs and in so doing grow the economy. And as an agency of the government, the National Youth Service continues to satisfy the ever-evolving needs of the nation's youth.
We have a broad mix of programs and opportunities that could or that would or that should appeal to just about any young Jamaican within the 17 to 24 age group.
We're now at the end of today's show. I trust that the past half hour was not only informative but also entertaining. So please share with us your thoughts. Email us jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. You may also send us a direct message on our Twitter handle and Facebook page. If you prefer to just view our programs, visit jis.gov.jm or our YouTube page for this and other shows. On behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Pleasant viewing.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.